What's up, guys? DubbleAction here. I'm going to do a review of my Kershaw 7000CKT Breakout. This is an automatic knife. It's an out the side automatic knife. You can see the little push button here, and bam, there it is. It's a pretty decent knife overall. I'll go through some of the specs. The blade steel is a Sandvik 14C28N, which is a pretty standard blade steel. Kershaw uses it in a lot of their knives, and it's decent, holds an edge, and you can get a decent edge on it. And I haven't had a problem with rust or anything like that with it. So far, so good. So that's the kind of blade steel they use. The coating on it is what Kershaw calls a tungsten DLC coating. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it's a black coating on the blade, and I'm guessing it's for rust resistance. So that's the coating that's on it. The handle is made of CNC machined aluminum. You can see it's got this kind of cracked glass design in it, which looks pretty cool. The blade length is 3.5 inches. The closed length is 4.5 inches, and overall it's 8 inches long. The weight is an amazingly light 2.4 ounces. That is, I mean, this thing weighs nothing. It feels like a toy. And when I first took it out of the box, I was like amazed at how light this thing is. It weighs nothing. 2.4 ounces. Talk about your size and weight constraints. This fits the bill, and this thing is light and very thin. Look how thin that thing is. I'll put a couple of other blades next to it for comparison. Here's my SOG Aegis. And look at the, it's just not even a comparison with the how thin this thing is. It's ridiculously thin. You know, that's the only knife I have handy, but yeah, big difference. Some of the other pros, I'll go through some of the pros and cons. Let's do the pros first. Like I said, lightweight, super fast deployment. I mean, this thing has such a strong spring in it. It just opens so lightning fast. But here's one of the cons. As you've probably seen, as I opened it, it doesn't lock up all the time. You have to kind of open it, make it lock in with your thumb a little bit, which is really crummy. That's my biggest complaint about this knife, is that unreliable lockup. It doesn't. It depends on which position you're holding it in. If you hold it like this, it locks up. But if you're holding it like this, it doesn't lock up. So I guess you just got to hold it like this when you open it, and it locks up, no problem. Design flaw. I think the problem is the spring is so powerful that before the button can come back up and lock the blade in place, it bounces back a little bit. So maybe if they put a lighter spring in it, it might solve that problem. Some of the other pros, like I said, very, very thin. I like the pocket clip on this. It's pretty basic. I mean, there's no frills here. It's just a basic pocket clip. But it's pretty tight. It holds in your pocket securely. It's big enough where it can get a good grip on your pants. And so I like that pocket clip. It's reversible. You can switch it from right hand to left hand. You can see the pre-drilled, pre-tapped screw holes there, so you can just take these screws out, switch your pocket clip to the other side if you're a lefty. Flow-through design. I like that. You can see right through it. So any kind of gunk or, you know, mud, dirt, blood, whatever you happen to get on it, will just go right through. Ooh, I almost cut myself. It's just going to flow right through there. So easy to clean. The blade is very well centered. Let's see if I can get a shot of that. Very well centered. It's well constructed knife. The safety lock. It's got this safety lock over here. Just a little button you push up or down. Get the right light there so you can see it. That little slide safety lock. You put it up towards the pivot point and it won't deploy. Now you just move that the other way and it deploys. And it also works the other way. When it's deployed, if you move that safety lock up, now you can't close it. You just move it back down and you can close it. Okay? The price point on this knife, depending on where you buy it, it's all over the place. I've seen it for as low as high 60s, like $68, $69, all the way up over $100, like $110. So you really got to shop around if you want to buy this knife. You got to shop around and find the best price. I got this for about $70, and that was the best price I could find on it. Some of the other downsides to this knife, like I said, that lockup problem. I was looking on some of the blogs and stuff like that, just other people who have had this knife, and it's a common problem with this knife. Some of them do it, some of them don't, but there are other people that have had that same issue with this knife. So that's an issue. That would almost, if I had known it was going to do that before I bought it, I may not have bought it. That's a pretty big problem. The small button, this tiny, I don't know why they put this tiny little button on there. They could have put something a little bit bigger on there, and it just would have been more comfortable. This button really isn't comfortable. You know, it digs into your finger when you press it. So I mean, why not just put a wider button on there? You got plenty of room. I don't understand why they did that. So that's a downside. The lockup on this knife is not horrible, but it's not great either. I mean, there's a little bit, you can't even really see it. I can feel it though. There's a little bit of wiggle room up and down, like this way. I can feel it. It's not significant, but it's there. Most of my Kershaws, there's not even that much. They lock up so tight you'd think it was a fixed blade, but this one, there's a little bit of play there, which is no big deal. I mean, it doesn't hinder the performance of the knife. Not much side to side movement, but just a little bit up and down. The only other downside to this knife is that it rides very high in the pocket, and you can see on this pocket clip it's only going to sit that deep in your pocket, so that much of the knife is going to be sticking up out. Which, I mean, I guess that's okay. You got something to grab onto when you go to pull it out. But I don't know, I like it to sit, I like my knives to sit a little bit deeper, like this SOG. You can see the pocket clip is, it's that bayonet style, and I mean, nothing sticks out of your pocket. It buries all the way down in there. So I mean, when you pull it out, you got to really reach down into the pocket and, you know, and pull it out. But it buries deep, and you know it's not going to get snagged on something and get pulled out of your pocket, whereas this might, you know, something might catch on there and yank this knife out of your pocket. I haven't had that problem yet, and the clip is really tight, so I mean it would really have to get hooked on something good for it to pull out. But it does stick up significantly. So if that's a problem for you, then you might want to look at some other options. That's about it. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. It's, I mean, for the price, most automatic knives that you're going to look at will be in the, I don't know, well over $100. I've seen them all the way up, you know, for microtechs and stuff like that, up to $400, $500, $600. For between $70 and $100, I don't think you're going to do much better than this in the auto knife category. And so I'd say for the money, it's worth it. Like I said, the only major issue I had was that lockup problem, and that's a problem. Also, something to be aware of with this knife is because that spring is so tight, and that blade comes out with such force, If you don't have a good grip on it, it's going to come flying out of your hand. I've heard stories about this knife coming, coming flying out of somebody's hand and cutting them. So it's just something to be aware of. You got to keep a good grip on it. I took this thing to work. I'm a correction officer. I took this thing to work and handed it to 3 different correction officers and said, "Here, check this knife out." And told all 3 of them, get a good grip on it before you press that button. And what did they do? All 3 of them dropped it. They pressed that button, this thing flung out of their hands, and they went, "Holy crap!" So you really got to keep a good grip on it when you press that button. Do it like you mean it. So there you go. There's my review of the Kershaw Breakout 7000CKT. And that's it. This is Double Action. Stay sharp, be safe, and God bless.